Welcome to Season 3 of the I Talk to Angels podcast. I'm Beverley Densham, author of the book I Talk to Angels. I really look forward to bringing you tips, meditations, angel card readings and guidance from the angels every week to help and inspire you, whether you're new to the angels or have loved the angels for a long time. Oh, it's a big welcome. I've got a guest this week. The beautiful Karen Kay has come on the I Talk to Angels podcast. Thank you so much, Karen, for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me, Bev. I feel very honoured to be on your podcast. So, yeah, I feel very lucky. Thank you.
Oh, bless your cotton socks. I bet you get invited everywhere.
Yeah, I know, but you don't have loads and loads of guests. So it's like I feel quite, it feels very, like a blessing. I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I like about you, Karen. You're still down to earth. This is a really good thing. Would you?
Of course. That's who I am. I don't. The only thing that might change is I might get a few new dresses.
Yeah, you like dresses.
I love dresses.
And funnily enough, it's like I was told to get changed there. I had to put a dress on. I had to get out my jumpsuit and put a dress on to come and talk to you.
Lovely. I love
it. So just tell us a bit more about you and your amazing decks and stuff.
Okay, so for people that don't know me, my name's Karen Kay. I am sometimes known as the Fairy Lady, or more recently the Mermaid and Fairy Whisperer, or the Fairy and Mermaid Whisperer. Either way round is fine. That came from when I was on TV on This Morning, which is a British TV show, and they called me that, the Mermaid and Fairy Whisperer, and I'm like, I'll take that. I like that. I am I'm the producer, the author of 2 oracle card decks, currently the Oracle of the Fairies and the Messages from the Mermaids. So, and they're published by Hay House, which was a dream come true for me. It's something that I've wanted to do since I was very young. I'm a musician, I'm a singer, I'm the editor-in-chief and founder of Fae magazine and Mermaid magazine, and I write for Soul and Spirit. So that's just a few of the things that I do, and I love life, I love nature, I love the ocean.
Yeah, that's lovely. So how did you get into the fairies?
The fairies got into me. That sounds a bit odd, but when I was a young child, so where are we? We're going back quite a long way in time. My parents separated, and I spent a lot of time with my grandmother in Charlton in South London, and she loved gardening and roses in particular. And I just remember, I must have been quite short, because I remember looking up at her while she was pruning the roses, and the rose petals would fall down, and I would gather them up and make what I believed I was making perfume for the flower fairies. And it just was completely natural. It wasn't like, because when you're young, you just accept things, you don't really question it. So I knew I was making perfume for the flower fairies, and I would mush up all the petals and leave them out overnight, and every morning I'd go back to check and it'd be gone. And I knew that the flower fairies had taken the perfume and that they approved. And then I started to see little lights, and this has been with me from being a young child right through to being an adult. They have never gone. At one point when I was in my teens, and it felt like fairies wasn't very cool, because my ego really kicked in, and I was like, oh, it's not really cool to believe in fairies, and seeing these lights, and I thought something might have been wrong with my eyes. So I took myself to the optician. I didn't say, I think I'm seeing fairy lights. I just thought I'll get an eye check just to make sure. And I had 20/20 vision, so I knew that the lights were fairies. I knew that. I didn't tell the optician because he might have thought I was a bit funny, but I just knew that it was a real thing. I just needed that confirmation. Like a lot of people, when they get older, they need the proof, the science, and that natural belief tends to go. So that was a kind of very short phase of my life where I was questioning it, and then they've just stayed with me all the time, and they inspire me, they guide me, they appear in usually as lights, but sometimes in full form, not as often, but they do sometimes when they want to present. And they also present as fragrances as well. Sometimes I get a particular fragrance. So yeah, that's like kind of in a nutshell how I came to have my relationship with the fairies.
Interesting. When I wrote my first book, I did write a little bit about fairies in it, as purely as in a bit like you're saying, you didn't get into them, they got into you. For me, it was very, very much an environmental thing. I'm so passionate about the beach, like you, and the sea, that every time I became more and more a litter picker, and the more I went to the sea, and I was just, it's like a magnet. It's like I was magnetically drawn to pick it all up, and I it was like a knowing. It's a very for me it's very different. I don't know what you think, but to me working with angels and fairies is very, very different, and it's more of a like you're just magnetically pulled to, for me anyway, to do something such as litter picking. Whereas I get a lot more detail. You don't need any detail about that, do you? Whereas with the angels, they could give you a whole book full of information or whatever. But with the fairies, I don't know, can make you feel quite annoyed as well. They can make you feel quite annoyed about something they want you to sort out or help with on an earthly level. Would you agree?
What, the fairies?
Yeah.
They definitely have a kind of feisty side, yeah. And the angelic, as you say, it's kind of more gentle and non-judgmental, and the fairies are judgmental of humans. Let's not beat about the bush, you know. They see the impact that humanity has on the environment, and I too am a passionate environmentalist. I wouldn't recommend this, but I've laid down in front of a bulldozer in my time, and that was when my sons were very young. They were toddlers, and we were living on this beautiful it was in Cornwall. It's like a housing estate, but not a conventional housing estate. It was just a group of houses with a beautiful stream and this huge hill and these ancient trees, like hundreds of years old, and there was owls nesting in the trees, and it was so full of nature and so alive and beautiful. And this was our everyday view. And then one day, some housing company wanted to come and literally create a housing estate on the side of the hill. And I woke up one morning to this sound of chainsaws, and it was horrible. And I just went out, and instinctively I just said, you can't do that, there are owls nesting in that tree, and under act blah 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 of the RSPs. And I just blurted it. I didn't actually know what I was talking about, but I sounded very authentic, and I feel like there was like a fairy solicitor working with me, because I was just reeling out all of this legal jargon, and as I was hearing it I was thinking, well, I don't really know that, but you know. And it worked. They immediately put down their chainsaws and said they had to go and check with the boss. And then I did some investigation about what I'd actually said and found out that it was all true. So the laws that I was quoting and everything were all true. And it was like, wow, okay. And if there are nesting, particularly owls, who were, maybe still are, an endangered species, they are protected during the nesting season. And they said something to the effect of, oh, we'll wait until they've flown and then we'll come back and chop them down. In the meantime, that gave me a lot of time to get a community group together. And then when eventually they came back with their bulldozers, I literally sat in front of the bulldozer and they stopped it. And then eventually because they only had a certain amount of time to do the planning thing. I can't remember how much it was, but I managed to just put all of these delays in. And I know that I was having support from the fairy realm, because they were just kind of giving me these ideas. And so while I was living there, the houses weren't built. But as soon as I moved away and I went back to visit, unfortunately, nobody continued my work. So they did get built, and all the floodings happened, and all the things that we predicted all happened. But yeah, so I am passionate. I haven't laid down in front of any bulldozers recently, although I wouldn't put it out of the question. I mean, obviously safety has to be paramount, and I'm not endorsing or saying that anybody should do this, but when you feel so passionate about something and you've got the fairies, kind of the backing of the fairies, you know that they've got your back on the kind of the other dimension, but not so much in this one, and we have to kind of fend for ourselves. But with this extra magical support, we can get quite a lot done.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. And like for you personally, how obviously you help loads of people, you know, around the world with the fairies and everything. How have they helped you personally?
Oh, I feel like they help me on so many levels. They help me with my oh wow, there are so many times that they've helped me. There are kind of major things that they've helped me with. That's the dog wanting to go out. Did you see the dog walking by?
Yeah, I did.
Elle, come lie down. It's my son's dog called Earl Grey. It's a Staffordshire Terrier. So gorgeous. He's a little puppy. He's huge, but he's like, I think, just coming up to 6 months. Anyway, so yeah, the fairies helped me, let's say, first of all, with my fairy festival. They put this kind of idea into my mind. I was literally sitting here, and I always feel it like they're talking to me from here. It's really bizarre, and it was just like, you must organise a fairy festival at the time of midsummer. And I'm like, where did that voice come from? Because it wasn't my internal voice, because we know the sound of our own internal dialogue, and it was a kind of different, it was telepathic. And I was like, okay. And then they said, you must announce it now. And I'm like, how can I announce a festival when I don't know where it's going to be? I don't know what it's called. You know, it's not just going to be a generic fairy festival. And they just said, announce it and trust. Like, basically I had to trust. And I thought, well, at the time I'd been organising mystic fairs, and I had, you know, quite a good reputation as an organiser, but I'd never announced an event where I didn't know where it was going to be, and this was like a huge thing for me. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to trust this, because it felt, I tuned in with my instinct, with my gut instinct, and it felt okay to go with it. So while I was pondering this, because I didn't just say, yeah, I'll do that and announce it to my, you know, the people on my database and stuff. So I went in the garden, and I was just hanging up my laundry. It was a really beautiful day, and the sun was shining. There was no breeze, and the grass had been cut, which is very rare for my garden, but it'd been cut. But there was one, I noticed a solitary dandelion seed head, and you know, with all the fluffy seeds on it. And I just, from it, I looked and I thought, oh, that's strange, because the grass has been cut. How is that there? Like, out of the whole lawn, there's this, surely it would have got cut. And anyway, I'm hanging up my washing, and then one of these I call them wishes, you know, the little seeds that come off, a little wish flew past me, and I thought, that's strange, there's no wind, and carried on hanging out my washing. And then another one went up, and I thought, this is really strange, because there's no breeze, the sun's shining, and they're just going past me. And then another one went up, and I was like, 3 wishes. And then it was like a light bulb moment, like 3 wishes fairy festival, yay. And I just knew that that was like the fairies kind of giving me that name, because I'd said to them before, I don't just want to call it a fairy festival, I want to have a unique kind of name that will distinguish it from other events. And even though there weren't any other fairy festivals in the UK at that time, and this was back in 2006, or it was 2006, I think, or 2007, when that idea came. So they gave me that name, and then I thought, now where's it going to be? And I announced it anyway. I knew it had to be at Midsummer, so I announced it, and I just said it was going to be in Cornwall. That was all I knew. It was going to be in Cornwall at the time of Midsummer. It was called the Three Wishes Fairy Festival. Everything else I didn't know, like where it was going to be. So I somehow, it's like the fairies open doors for you. They make connections happen that you weren't expecting, and it was like a magical, metaphorical fairy door opened, and I ended up meeting a gentleman that owned some land in Cornwall who was having events there, and it was a good size for a venue, and I thought, well, this could really work well. And I met him and had a chat with him, and to my surprise, he was very, very receptive to the idea and said, you know what, I'll take a chance on this. You seem like fun, you seem like you know what you're doing, and you know, I like the idea of having a fairy festival. It sounds different, it sounds fun. So he was really receptive to it, which is really helpful. And he said, yeah, you can use my land. And we came to an agreement that was good for both of us, because I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know if anybody was going to come. I knew that there was some interest, and I knew that there were things going on in America, but within the UK there wasn't really a scene, a community as such. So that's where it was, at Colliford Lake Park in Cornwall, which is on Bodmin Moor, and the lake near the park was said to be the name of it's gone out of my mind, Dosmery Pool, where the Lady of the Lake either gave King Arthur his sword or received the sword, because it went back into the lake, and it was said that that was Dosmery Pool, which is in, so it had all this kind of beautiful Arthurian legend associated with it. And of course the Arthurian legend does have fairy in it, because you've got Morgana Le Fay, who doesn't necessarily have a great reputation in a lot of the storytellings, but there is a whole other side to her, and that she was like a fairy being. So this connection of fairies with the festival was really wonderful, and it's like the fairies had literally set the whole thing up. I know that's a very long explanation, but
no, I just sort of get a clairvoyant vision of your little fairy doors opening, and then you're kind of excitedly going through each one.
Yeah, and it's not just one. There's so many.
Again and again. Yeah, lots of them.
Yeah, it is. It's wonderful, and that's part of the beauty and the magic of working with fairies, is that yes, primarily they're guardians of the land, they're protectors of the environment. That is their primary purpose. However, a byproduct of the fairies is that they're magical, and so it's like this is a byproduct of having that connection with them. So I think they really feel you if you're sincere with your love of the planet, and if you have that same passion that they do, then there can be a bond, a friendship formed, and that's exactly what's happened with me.
Yeah, that's lovely. Do you feel that that's your big mission and soul purpose?
It's certainly a large part of my soul purpose. It's certainly taken over. And I always say, like, because people often ask me about actual fairy doors, can I put them in the house? And I say, well, you can. I wouldn't really recommend it. I prefer that fairy doors are outside, because once you put them in your house, that is a portal to another realm, and once they come in, that's it. It's hard to get rid of them. Not that I want to, I'm quite happy with them, but you can get you have to be, protect that door and make sure that it's shielded energetically, so that only the beings that you want to come through, because it is a portal, as I say. And it's like they're here, and they've been with me since I was a little girl, and they're not going anywhere, and I don't want them to go anywhere, because they've brought so much extra magic into my life, and happiness, and unexpected spontaneous things have happened through my connection with them, which is so beautiful. So it's a really lovely friendship, but it is a huge part of my soul purpose, but it isn't the entirety of my soul's purpose.
Yeah, there are different facets, aren't there? Different facets to our soul purpose. I don't think many of us have just one thing in the soul purpose. There's often different really important, just as important branches, I suppose.
Yes, yeah.
And it evolves as you go along, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it really does. Yeah, it changes.
So you have a big affinity with the sea like me, don't you? Is it like your soul's home as well?
Oh yeah, I love all of nature, and I feel at home in a forest or in the cliff, but the ocean for me is, oh, it's just this almost indescribable, and I know you understand it because you have it too, and it's like this sense of freedom. I suppose it's the expanse of the ocean. It's so vast and so deep, and I always feel really uplifted when I'm at the ocean. And I think, scientifically you can say, oh, it's because there's all negative ions, and I always think, why do they call them negative ions? Because I always feel positive. Why don't they call them positive? It seems back to front. Like, it always makes me feel so good. So whatever mood I'm in, I can take that mood or take myself to the sea, to the ocean, and it doesn't always make me jump for joy, but it always shifts it, and kind of it's like the salt in the air and the whole energy. It's very cleansing, and it just really helps you to work through stuff as well. But yeah, I love the ocean. I'm so blessed because I can walk 10 minutes in that direction and I'll be at the sea, or I can drive 10 minutes down the road and be at St Michael's Mount, which is one of my favourite beaches in Marizion. Yeah, I'm really blessed. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best. I wrote my whole book. Well, my whole book there, walking and standing and writing, and I eventually had to sit at the laptop. But even, do you find as well, it's being my favourite place, but personally, but do you find as well professionally you get incredible connection with your work there as well with the fairies?
Yeah. I mean, when the fairies, I do sometimes have, I kind of identify as a mer fairy, so I see myself as half fairy, half mermaid, and half human. And maths isn't my forte, I know that's three halves. But my essence is like mer fairy. I feel such a connection. So the fairy energy does come to the ocean with me sometimes, but usually I'm really strongly connecting with the elementals of the water, the mermaids, the guardians of the ocean. And when I wrote my messages from the mermaids deck, I did go there quite a lot. I mean, I go there quite a lot anyway, but to really open up to what messages they wanted to kind of put through my filter into the deck. So it's come from personal experience as well, and also it's like a joint, it's like a collaboration with the merfolk and myself. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Do you have like do you have like a morning routine?
Yes and no. Like, I have flexible, for a Taurian to say flexible is a little bit because normally Taurians are very fixed, but I do like an ideal morning routine would be to wake up quite early, meditate, and then jump very briefly into a cold shower, and then I kind of, because my son's here at the moment, I'm not doing it, but I like to do intermittent fasting. So in the evening I'll kind of stop eating at about 6 or 7 o'clock, and then I'll go right through till 10, 11, or sometimes 12 the next day. So I literally don't eat for maybe 16 to 18 to sometimes 19, 20 hours, depending on how I feel. And that actually gives me more energy. So I try to, if I get up, and then I'll do my shower, and then I'll go out for a walk, or go around like a decent long walk, and do some cardiovascular exercises by walking up a hill, kind of getting everything going. So I kind of do that, and then I'll come back and check my emails and do the worky stuff that I have to do. Because I work for myself, I'm really lucky as well, but I've created this, so it's not luck, I've kind of made it happen. And that came initially from when I was a single parent many years ago. My sons are like my youngest will be 30 this November. My eldest is 31. And so I've just completely gone off my track now. I do that sometimes. What was the question?
Well, we were talking about morning routine.
Oh yeah, and I've just gone off on a right tangent.
No, you carry on. You carry on.
Yeah, so working for myself, that's what I was going to say. So when the boys were younger, I just wanted to spend as much time with them as possible, because I knew that children grow up very, very quickly, and I didn't want to send them off to a nursery or anything like that. And it's fine if people want to do that. I'm not judging, but just for me, I knew that I wanted to have them around me, and the only way I could really do that was if I worked for myself. And that's how I started doing the events originally, which was divinely inspired, the Earth Health and Mystic Fairs. So I know I've digressed quite a lot. So being at home just gives me the privilege of being able to have these morning routines, and then at some point during the day I'll do little it's called like a peak state, and I learnt this from Tony Robbins and some courses that I've done with him. And it's how, sometimes we get in these spaces and then the thoughts come in and we can end up going, getting a bit, and you can kind of program yourself in a positive way just to be physical. And it can take 3-4 minutes to get yourself into a peak state, whether you're dancing, whether you're jumping, whether you're being really physically active and just being joyful, putting on your favorite music, and then you can really focus on your work and it gives you more energy. So that's what I do mostly.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks for sharing. And the so with the cold showers, I have hot and cold showers. I go from the hot and then I go for a 30-second cold. So do you always go straight into the cold when you do your?
Yeah.
No messing.
No messing.
Hardcore.
But let's be honest, I'm not full immersion. I'm like partial. So I'll start with my feet and then I'll do my arms and then I'll do that and then I'll woo, and then like it is shocking, and I don't enjoy it, but I enjoy the way it makes me feel, because it wakes you up. Like I don't drink coffee. I don't do anything to kind of boost myself awake in that way. I literally, and I don't do it every morning. As I say, that's my general routine, but like when I've got company and stuff like that, I don't always do it. And sometimes I'll go in the sea as well. If I go down to the beach, I'll just paddle in the sea. I don't usually go full in with that, but with the shower, just like I get braver. I kind of build it up. You only need to do about 10, 20, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I do that. I do 30,
whole body, like, and I don't do the hot after. I'll have a bath later on, like maybe after I've done a bit of work in the morning. But start the day with a little splash of ice cold water. Like,
I'm a big fan. I think it's brilliant, because I'm not naturally a morning person. I've made myself a morning person, but having that cold shower, it just, as you say, it wakes you up, but it also puts you in a better mood, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And it is like it's interesting, because I was listening to Tony Robbins, and I won't talk about him all the time, but I'm quite impressed with the way he works. But he says, like, he's been doing it for years and years and years, and he said he never looks forward to it, but it's one of his non-negotiables. And I really like that idea of having non-negotiable things that you don't really enjoy doing, but you love the effects of it, and it benefits you in so many other ways. Like, it just gives you this extra pizzazz and this extra energy that you can put into your work.
Yeah, exactly. Cold showers to oracle cards, I think they're non-negotiables. What do you think? So let's talk about your amazing Oracle of the Fairies deck. So whatever you want to say about it, and then let's pick one.
Okay, have you picked one?
I haven't. I'm just shuffling away because they're just beautiful.
Okay. So let's see. I've got a dog by my leg, a little puppy. I'm not sure what he's doing. He likes to kind of sleep underneath my desk, which is so sweet. So lovely. And I think like animals have a real connection to fairies too. I think because sometimes they'll look at something that isn't there, and I feel like they can actually see into the other realms, not just the fairy realm, but other realms as well. Hello, he's literally right underneath me. Right, let's see. Oh,
Animals love all of this.
yeah, they do. They do. Okay, I've got Lost and Found, which is really lovely. So the Lost and Found fairy is, and I think this has come out in one of our Fairy Friday ones that we've done together. I mean, it does come out quite a lot, but it's the Lost and Found fairy. It's about finding something that you never realized that you lost. And this could be a memory, it could be a thing, it could be a piece of jewelry, it could be anything at all, something that you'd literally forgotten that you'd lost, and then it just manifests, not, you know, appears before you, but it can literally be like that, but it just comes back into your periphery. And it can also be fairy coming in to say that she can help you find something that you know you've lost as well, like maybe it's a ring that you've taken off when you've been doing your washing up in the kitchen and you forgot where you've left it, or anything at all. It doesn't have to just be jewelry, it can be anything. And it can be like memories that we thought we'd lost, and they come back to us just in either through a dream or just randomly appear. And the Lost and Found fairy is responsible for this. So if you find like you're just remembering something that you'd forgotten about, and I get this a lot, just random memories and things, and I'm thinking, wow, I'd completely forgotten about that. And also, if you have lost something and you need help finding it, then just you can ask, you can put a little call or a thought out to the Lost and Found fairy. Can you please help me find whatever it is? It might even be a pet, your cat might have gone missing or something. You can ask the Lost and Found fairy to help, and she's very glad to help us with it.
Ah, that's lovely. Thank you. Should we go for another one?
Okay. Are you pulling one, or am I going to pull another one?
Well, shall I pull one and then you want to go for it with it?
Yeah, okay.
Hard. Hidden depths we got. I'll read the first bit. Something hidden is about to come to light, perhaps a secret or memory. How funny, you just talking about memories at the back of your mind. When we expose what's hidden, we can become free.
Yeah, I love this one. Yeah, so basically it's things, and it does really correlate with the Lost and Found fairy about these memories that can just come from the depths of our minds that we have forgotten about. But it's not only about memories, it's about things that we have perhaps through, it could be through a kind of traumatic type of experience that we've pushed down, and it just needs to come up at the right time. And these things should never be forced, and they can just come up like layers of an etheric onion and peeling off and revealing themselves. And this is part of our own hidden depths. I mean, that's just one way of describing it. You can describe it in many ways. And it can also be about going into the hidden depths of a particular situation, a particular person, a group, something that's going on, and you know that there's something more than what meets the eye. And so it's about the revelations, the revealing of these hidden depths coming to you, that it might happen by you asking probing questions, not in an interrogational way, but just in a investigative way, but in a nice, gently, like you feel like something's a little bit off. So just directly ask the person, don't second guess, because very often we can just guess or imagine that something is a certain way when actually it's not. So and I've got, what's coming to mind now is the 4 agreements, but I can't remember what they are. But I know one is be impeccable with your word, and another one is, I'm sure it's not don't assume, but it's something like this. Don't assume that you know what's going on. Sometimes it's like, for example, I'm just being so distracted, like there's the cutest little dog just looking at me, literal puppy dog eyes. Hello, Earl. He's so sweet, so distracting, so naughty and lovely at the same time. Sorry. Right, off my track. I can't remember what I was saying that.
Impeccable with your word.
Okay. And do not be distracted. Yeah, one of the 4 agreements is do not be distracted by cute little puppy dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
like I'm totally like, oh, puppy.
Exactly, Karen. Exactly.
Yeah, I have lost my track, unfortunately.
But that is all right. Oracle cards, I think, are one of the most. I think they're a non-negotiable. One of the most amazing things in the whole world. And you must be so proud of this deck. I mean, do you recommend? I mean, I highly. I mean, I love using your deck with my mum every Sunday, and I recommend them to all my clients and students and everyone. But when do you recommend people use them? Every day? So, I mean, I recommend people use Oracle cards every day, whichever deck that they're. What do you think?
Well, both of the decks, Oracle of the Fairies and Messages from the Mermaids, are designed to be used as frequently as you like. So if you feel like you want to pull a card for the day, or maybe the day and then the evening, or whatever, it's whatever feels right for you. I don't think you could ever use them too much. They're designed to be very gentle and go in at the level that you're able and ready to receive them. So if you wanted just a light general reading, you can get that from the cards, but also if you want to go deeper, you can read in the guidebook. There are deeper messages if you need that extra little bit of insight. And again, I wrote these in collaboration with the fairies. I was sitting right here when I wrote the deck, and it was really nice because I remember in particular the wisdom card in this deck. There's an owl in the photo, in the artwork, and at the time of that coming through, an owl started hooting outside, and we don't hear owls very often. Occasionally you hear them, but not that much. And suddenly, because I write at night, I prefer to write at night. It feels more atmospheric and quieter energetically. And it was just this magical moment of just feeling like the outside was inside, and this real connection. And I know that the fairy energy was very strong and bringing that to me. So yeah, it's very deep. And yeah, so going back to your question, if people feel drawn to the Oracle of the Fairies or Messages from the Mermaids, then see if it resonates. It has resonated with a lot of people, but there might be another deck that people might feel more a resonation with. So just whatever feels right, because it's a very individual, personal thing when you're working with Oracle cards. But as I said, they can be used daily, just to see what the tone of the day is as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're amazing. They're amazing. Highly recommend them, everyone. So I think as you say though, you can have multiple decks and you can keep getting more decks, but you often have favorite decks as well, don't you, that you keep going back to. I use my decks every day, but equally I have certain times that I'll use your decks. Like the fairy deck always comes out when I'm with my mum. And they often come out more in an evening than the morning. It's interesting. So it's like I'm going to take your mermaid ones to the beach next time I go, actually.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I always take my mermaid ones to the beach. Sometimes I take my mermaid ones into the gardens as well. I like to mix up the energies and see what happens, and I'll take the fairy ones to the beach as well, just to see what happens.
Interesting. I've used your fairy ones with friends and their 6-year-old son at the woods. No, not the woods. At the gardens. These beautiful gardens here. And there were cute little robins, and it was quite a magical little setting actually. But yeah, they're just amazing. Should we go into a lovely little fairy meditation next?
Yeah, that would be lovely. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go into that now.
So I'm now going to lead you in a short and very sweet fairy meditation, and I'll start the meditation with a little sound of the bell, and I'll also end the meditation with a sound of the bell, so you'll know if you drift off to Fairyland that you'll definitely come back again. So if you get yourself in a comfortable position, I'm going to ring the bell now. Feel yourself relaxing and take in a deep breath, and visualize yourself breathing in love, light, and joy. And as you exhale, Release any cares or concerns of your day. And then again, breathing in love, light, and joy. And breathing out any cares or concerns of your day. And once again, breathing in love, light, and joy. And breathing out any cares or concerns of your day. And then just feel your energy for a few moments. Everything is fine in this moment. Everything is perfect exactly as it is. And I'm going to call the fairy energy in to work with us during this meditation. Fairies, fairies, please join us now for a few moments of peace, tranquility, and joy to uplift and inspire us. And then in your mind's eye, see a beautiful golden fairy materialize in front of you. She is your fairy guide for this meditation. She may whisper her name to you, or she may not, it doesn't matter. Her energy is coming to you right now. She lifts up her hand and she blows on her palm and blows some beautiful fine golden magical fairy dust all around you. And this forms a protective aura, if you like, keeping you safe, protected and loved for the duration of this meditation. As the golden sparkles connect with your aura, it feels tingly, it feels very beautiful and fizzy, like the fairy fizzes. She asks you if you have one wish that you would like to bring into this earthly realm. So think of something now, not too complicated, just something simple that you've had in your heart that you'd like to manifest in this world. And then you can say it out loud or in your mind to this beautiful golden fairy who is your guide for the duration of this particular meditation. As you say your wish or your desire, your hope or your dreams, she places it to her heart and says that you may entrust this with her. She will do her best to help you manifest it within this earthly realm. Remember, it might not manifest exactly the way you think, but it will always manifest in the way that is for your highest good and for the highest good of anyone else involved. And also remember never to impose on anybody else's free will. So if you wish to manifest a particular person, it's best just to leave the face blank so that the divine can fill in the gaps. Because the divine always knows best. And the fairies are obviously a part of this divine energy too. This is the energy that they're working with. The golden fairy then pulls out her wand and she spirals it around your head. And the golden fairy dust that's all around you starts to go higher and higher and higher, reaching up into the universe. And you are connected to the divine source. And your feet are connected to the earth. You are fully grounded, and yet your head is fully in the clouds. The perfect combination for manifestation. You say thank you to this golden fairy, and she says she's happy to work with you, and you can call on her at any time. All you have to do is think of her. She is only a thought away. She then wishes you well and says it's time for you to return back to your human earthly realm. So you feel your feet on the earth, on the ground, on the carpet, wherever you are, and start to wriggle your toes, and then start to wriggle and move your fingers, and start to come back into your body. Maybe roll your shoulders, turn your head around, and then when you feel ready, open your eyes, and I'm going to ring the bell to bring us fully back into our bodies right now.
Thank you, Karen, for that absolutely beautiful fairy. Turned into a beautiful, like, fairy manifestation meditation, and I think that is the most beautiful way for somebody to meet their fairy guide. When my fairy blew the gold dust, it just whooshed. I felt it whoosh on my head. I got a lot of clairsentience and sensations during that. I got a vision of her as well, and I got a beautiful, beautiful name, actually.
Wow. Oh, that's
so it's really divine, Karen. Thank you for sharing that with everybody.
It's my pleasure. I had no idea what I was going to do. I really like to just open to that energy and trust that the right energy and meditation, the words, is just going to come through exactly as it should be for whoever's listening, whether it's on replay or whenever they're listening. So it's kind of like a timeless meditation.
It's short but very, very, very powerful. And I think if somebody hasn't met, a fairy that they can connect with in that way, and I think it's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful thing. But that's as a meditation that somebody can enjoy multiple times, but it also gives the kind of the protection and the expansion as well of it.
Yeah, the protection is really important. And we're so creative in our minds, and our imaginations are so powerful, so we can use, there's so many unlimited techniques that we can use, and this one with the fairy dust literally just came. I've never used that before, I don't think, so that just came for this purpose. And also about the connection, like it's really important to be grounded, especially when we're working with fairies, because they're of the earth realm, but also to soar up into the divine realms, to have that connection. It's like just really beautiful.
Yeah, it's the perfect kind of combination. Combination.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Oh, I was just like, yeah, yeah, it's been so lovely. It has gone very quickly, and it is an honor and a privilege to be able to chat with you kind of more in depth, and also to share the meditation with you and everyone listening. And yeah, I mean, it would be wonderful if anybody listening felt like kind of finding me on social media, because I do daily readings and things on my Instagram account especially, which is at Karen K Fairy. And I also have a newsletter on my website, which is karenk.co.uk. If anyone wants to fly over, and do say where you've come from, and say, I've come from Amazing Bev's podcast. And yeah, it'd be so lovely. I really love connecting with people, because I think people are magical beings, and when we connect, it just makes the world a more beautiful place.
Yeah, it's very true. Definitely fly over and see Karen, everybody.
Thank you.
Definitely. And I think, apart from listening to this and that wonderful meditation, what takeaway tip would you love to give today, Karen?
I often say this, but that's because it's my biggest takeaway, and that really is about being grateful for this moment. And if you find things are overwhelming, if you come back to this exact moment, you'll find that a lot of the things that you feel are overwhelming are of the mind, and therefore we don't have to suffer them. You know, it is a kind of choice, and I know that might sound random, but if you can pull yourself into this moment, even if it's only for a few seconds, and just experience the peace that is there, and be grateful for this life, this beautiful blessing of our life. That's what I'd say. So be grateful for that and be in the moment as much as you can.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Karen. Lots and lots of love.
Oh, lots of love. Thank you for inviting me again. Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the I Talk to Angels podcast. Please rate and review on your podcast platform. You can access my free angel healing meditation on my website. You can get a signed copy of my book, I Talk to Angels, which includes a free manifestation meditation with the angels. You can also book your one-to-one coaching and angel card reading by going to angeliclifestyle.com.